Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the James Nolan Podcast. I told you guys I was back. I'm back. I am back. But yeah, today we're going to go over some spring training storylines again with the season coming around the corner. It's baseball season. It's baseball season. Super Bowl's over. Basketball, of course, is going on right now. We are going to touch on the Knicks later and Jalen Brunson's comments, but we're going to get right into baseball right away with the New York Mets and why I think their rotation, specifically their starting rotation, is underrated. No doubt about it, it's underrated. Number one, they just got Freddie Peralta. I think it completely changes the whole dynamic of this Mets rotation. Nolan McLean, year two of McLean. We're going to talk about him a lot in this podcast. I love Nolan McLean. I think everybody loves Nolan McLean. The fact is, he only made 8 starts, so we don't know truly what he is going to turn into. But everything that McLean did in those 8 starts, my favorite start was that one against the Philadelphia Phillies when the Mets were on that 4-game winning streak. Nolan McLean showed that he has balls, that he has the ability, or he has that demeanor, I should say, to be a top of the arm rotation guy. That's what he has the ability to be. And Freddie Peralta, as we all know, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball last year. Over the last 3 years of his career, he's made start after start after start. He's got strikeout stuff, innings. He's not really a 7 or 8 inning guy, but still, he's going to go out there and he's going to pitch 30 plus starts. So if he stays healthy for us, I think we can finally have some consistency, somebody that we can bank on besides Nolan McLean to just go out there every 5 days and provide us some stability at the very least. And, he's gotten better each year of his career. So I do think Freddie Peralta can still take that next step. But before I get into Freddie Peralta, before I get into Nolan McLean, I want to touch on the other guys in the rotation and why, I do think this team is going to have a better performance from their pitching staff this year than last year, even without Nolan McLean and Freddie Peralta. For starters, Sean Manaea. I think Sean Manaea, coming off the injury-plagued season he had last year, coming into camp healthy, as long as he stays healthy, I think Sean Manaea is a perfect back end of the rotation guy. With Freddie Peralta here and now Nolan McLean asserting himself as a top of the rotation arm for this team, it alleviates the pressure for guys like Manaea, guys like Peterson, guys like Senga, guys like Clay Holmes. It alleviates the pressure for those guys to go out there and pitch like a top of the rotation arm because they're not a top of the rotation arm anymore. Manaea, he was that guy in 2024. He had that pressure. Now, not so much. I mean, Sean Manaea is a guy, when he's healthy, he is a very reliable arm. He's a reliable arm. Last year, he pitched, even when he came back from his arm injury, he still pitched with loose bodies in his arm. I'm not sure exactly how much that affects him, but listen, I think he can be the guy that he was in 2024. I'm not saying he's going to be better than he was in 2024, but in 2024, he went out there and he made 32 starts. He pitched over 180 innings. He pitched to a 3.47 ERA. He struck out 184 guys in the 181.2 innings he pitched. And he did allow 21 home runs. That's the one flaw of Sean Manaea's game. He allows a lot of home runs. Even last year, in 60 innings pitched, he allowed 13 home runs in just 60 innings pitched. So that's the only flaw I would say that I'm worried about with Manaea. Because even in 2024, when he had a fantastic year, he still let up that home run ball a lot. That's also due to the fact that he's not a high velo guy. He's not a strikeout pitcher. And usually the harder the ball comes in, the harder it goes out. Obviously, that's the same. But with Manaea, he just doesn't have that velo. He doesn't have that velo where a guy's going to be late on his fastball. He's more of a finesse guy. He's got the curveball. He's got that little 3/4 arm action that he's trying to, mess with the hitters with. So Manaea, I'm going to expect him to have a better year than he did last year, simply because I expect him to be healthier than he was last year. That's the only reason I expect Manaea to be better. And also, even if he isn't the guy he was in 2024, let's say he's the guy that he was when he was with the Oakland A's, or now the Sacramento A's or the Las Vegas A's. But in 2021, when he was with the A's, he pitched to a 3.91 ERA, made 32 starts still, and had an 11-10 record. And if you're going to tell me he's going to pitch to a sub-4 ERA and get more wins than losses this season, and he makes 30-plus starts, I will be completely okay with that for a back end of the rotation guy with Sean Manaea. Now I want to get into Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes, I was very intrigued when the Mets, signed Clay Holmes last offseason to be a starter. Because, you look at his baseball savant page and you look at his ground ball rate. And that was the biggest thing I was like excited about. Did he have a high ERA as a reliever? Yeah, because when you're a reliever and you let up one run every, let's say, 6 innings, that's bad. Because every 6 appearances, you're having a bad outing, right? Even if you let up 2 runs in those 6 innings, that's bad. Let's say you let up a home run and you blow a game as a closer 2 out of 6 times. That's bad. Simple as that. As a starter, completely different. He can let up 2 runs in the first inning and then throw 5 scoreless innings. He can let up 3 runs in the 6th inning after throwing 5 scoreless innings. So I do like Clay Holmes as a starter. I think it was a success. A lot of people don't want to hear it, especially Yankee fans, but Clay Holmes, that experiment actually played out pretty well for the Mets. I don't blame Clay Holmes for the Mets, the Mets' slow death that they had last year at the tail end of the season. He in 2025, first year as a full-time starter since, when was it? First time as a full-time starter since his rookie year in 2018, when he really wasn't even a full-time starter. He only started 4 games. So really his first year as a full-time starter, a 3.53 ERA, 12-8 record, pitched 165 innings, got better as the year went on. Well, I shouldn't say got better as the year went on. He started off very strong. He looked like a complete steal for David Stearns. Mid-year, he was kind of fatigued a little bit. He even said it himself. He was feeling it, pitching all those innings for the first time in a very long time. But then towards the end of the year, he figured it out again. And we all remember game 161 from Clay Holmes, putting in a vintage Mets game 161 performance. So Clay Holmes, I expect him to probably be the number 4 of this team. I expect, Peralta, McLean. Then I would say Sean Manaea or Kodai Senga. And then Clay Holmes or Sean Manaea as that 4 or 5. And you still have David Peterson, too. David Peterson, I forgot about it. I'm going to throw him at number 3, probably. The reason I'm throwing David Peterson at number 3 is because even though his final numbers last year of a 4.21 ERA, a 1.37 whip, don't suggest anything, crazy. You look at his game log, and we're going to look at, this is what I want to get into. I want to get into David Peterson specifically. This is the reason I think this Mets rotation is very underrated, because not only do you have Sean Manaea, who's going to be healthy, not only do you have Clay Holmes, who's going to be at the back end of the rotation. In his first year as a starter, he pitched to a 3.53 ERA and pitched over 165 innings and made 30-plus starts. Not only do you have the wild card in Kodai Senga, who, when healthy, he pitches like an ace. I said it on my 2 podcasts ago. Kodai Senga, when healthy, he does pitch like an ace. He pitched to a 2.98 ERA in his first year with the Mets in 2023. Before he went down with a hamstring injury last year, he was pitching to a sub 1.7 ERA or something like that. And then he obviously came back from that injury and completely fell off the map. But Senga, when healthy, he's one of the best pitchers, not only in the National League, but in the game. Senga can be that good when he's healthy. But the reason I think this rotation is so underrated, because a lot of people are forgetting about the man named David Peterson. Let's go start by start. Start by start. His first start, March 31st, against the Miami Marlins. Let's count how many bad starts David Peterson had. I did it on my last pod too, but I want to do it again since we're focusing right now on these Mets. His first start, allowed 2 earned runs across 6 innings. Against Toronto in his second start, pitched 4.2 innings. And it unloaded. All right, here we go. We're pulling it up right now. Game logs. Bang, right here. Yep, we got it. Yeah. First start of the year, 6 innings, only 2 earned runs allowed. Then his second start against the Toronto Blue Jays, pitches 4.2 innings, allows 1 run. His third start, 6 innings, only allows 2 earned. Then his next start, 5.1 innings, 3 earned. Next start, 5.1 innings, 2 earned. Next start, 5.0 innings, 1 earned. So in March and April, first 2 months of the season, David Peterson didn't have a single bad start. Now we get into May. First start in May, 6 innings, 2 earned. Next start in May, 6 innings, 2 earned. Third start in May, 6 innings, 1 earned. Fourth start in May, 7.2 innings, 2 earned. And his 5th start in May, 5.2 innings, 1 earned. So now we're 3 months into the season for David Peterson. He's had 0 bad starts. Now we get into June. 7 innings, 3 earned in his first start in June. Second start in June, dominant. 9 innings, no earned. Complete game shutout for David Peterson. Third start in June, 7 innings, 3 earned. Another good start. First 2 bad starts come in June. Last 2 starts in June, 4 innings, 5 earned. And his last start in June, 4.2 innings, 5 earned. So 2 bad starts through March, April, May, and June. Just 2 bad starts. Now we get into July. He starts to bounce back. Has a great July. First start in July, 6.2 innings, 1 earned. Second start in July, 7 innings, 1 earned. 6 innings, no earned in his third start in July. And in his final start in July, 6 innings, 1 earned. So up until August, he only had 2 bad starts. Now we get into August. And he had 2 bad starts in August. So after August, David Peterson only had 4 bad starts throughout the whole entire year. Keep that in mind. First start in August, 6 innings, 2 earned. Second start in August, 6 innings, 4 earned. Not bad. Not good, but not bad. Third bad start, I would say, of the whole entire year for David Peterson. 3.1 innings, 6 earned in his third start in August. Fourth start in August. Looks like the pitcher he was all year. 8 innings, 1 earned. Fifth start in August, 5.2 innings, 2 earned. And then his 4th bad start of the whole entire year, 2 innings, 8 earned in his 6th start in August. He made 6 starts in August, too. Got to give him credit for that. 5.1 innings in his first start in September, 4 earned. 5 innings in his second start in September, 3 earned. And then his final 2 starts, 5 innings, 6 earned. And then 1.1 innings, 5 earned. So that's 6 bad starts from David Peterson last year. 6. So out of 30 games, 24 starts from David Peterson, more than 2/3 of his starts in 2025 were pretty damn good. And David Peterson is the main reason I think that this rotation is way too underrated going into the year. You have Freddie Peralta at the top. You have Nolan McLean along with him at the top. You have Clay Holmes coming back for a year or 2 as a full-time starter after pitching to a 3.53 ERA in 2025. Sean Manaea will be healthy. Kodai Senga you got as the wild card. One healthy, one of the best pitchers in the game, like I said before, was pitching to a sub-2 ERA in the first half of the year before he had that hamstring injury. And like I said just now, David Peterson, he's the reason that this Mets rotation is underrated. 24 out of those 30 starts he had in 2025 were pretty damn good. He's a solid starter. The most innings he ever pitched in his entire career was in 2025. So I don't think it's too much of a shock to see why he struggled at the tail end of last year. And he really only had 4 bad starts in the second half of the year. 2 bad starts up through June. Just 2. The guy was an NL All-Star last year. I think we all need to stop sleeping on David Peterson and this entire Mets rotation. We do. We really do. I know it was big. The Mets needed to add a starter. They did, but they didn't. And I'm so happy that David Stearns did not fall under pressure to go out there and sign a guy like Framber Valdez, who's at the tail end of his career, who had one of the worst. Even though he had a decent year last year, it was nothing special. Clay Holmes actually had a better year than Framber Valdez last year. And for Valdez to get the money that he got, I'm very happy David Stearns didn't go after a guy like Valdez. Same thing with Ranger Suarez. You know, he got paid the big bucks. I'm very happy we didn't get Ranger Suarez because we ended up with Freddie Peralta. I'm sure a lot of Mets fans at the time, when we didn't have Freddie Peralta and Ranger Suarez just got signed, we're like, what the hell? Why aren't we signing a guy like Ranger Suarez? He pitched great with the Phillies for the last 2-3 years. And the Mets need pitching. Perfect option. No. Wait it out. Because one, even if they didn't land Freddie Peralta, you still have Tarek Skubal, who's going to be a free agent next year. Who I still think the Mets are going to be big on next offseason. I still think they're going to give Freddie Peralta an extension. So I'm very happy they played a long game offseason, waited it out, got Freddie Peralta, who's a solid starter. Am I going to call him a bona fide ace? No, but you know what I'm going to call him? I'm going to call him our number 1 and a rotation arm. He's exactly what the Mets need. And let's say he's just a top of the rotation arm for the Mets, and he doesn't turn into, the ace that we all expect him to be. We still have Nolan McLean, who's right there. We all think he's got it in him, not just to be a top of the rotation arm, not just to be a number one or a number two. We all think that he can be an ace. Everyone believes even he's the number one pitching prospect in baseball going into this year. He's the favorite to win the NL Rookie of the Year. I don't think Nolan McLean can just turn out to be a great starter. I think he can turn out to be a top 5-10 starter in the game. And I think we could see that this year because what Nolan McLean did last year, I know it was only 8 starts, but Nolan McLean, my God, dude, he flashed. I hate saying this, but he flashed what Jacob deGrom flashed when he first came up. He's not flashing, triple digits. He's not flashing a 90-plus mile per hour slider. But, I mean, last year in those 8 games, 5-1, keep in mind, he had a lot of pressure on him, a lot of pressure on this kid in his first ever big league appearance to really just get the Mets back on track. Even against the Philadelphia Phillies when he made that start, when he went 8 innings, he had a lot of pressure. He showed balls. He showed moxie. He doesn't just have the stuff. He has the mindset to be an ace in this league. Let's go start by start with Nolan McLean now. Nolan McLean in his first ever big league start against the Seattle Mariners goes 5.1 innings, strikes out 8, doesn't let up a single run, only lets up 2 hits. Second start against the Atlanta Braves. And I know the Atlanta Braves struggled last year, but the Braves always kick our asses. Goes 7 innings, only allows 4 hits, only 2 earned runs. His third start against the Philadelphia Phillies, the one I've been talking about. This is the one where I realized, oh shit, the Mets might have an ace. The Mets might have a very young ace. Goes 8 innings, no earned runs, only allows 4 hits, only strikes out 6 guys, but still goes 8 innings. In his 5th appearance, he goes 6 innings, 2 earned. His 7th appearance, 5.1 innings, 1 earned. 6 innings, none earned. 5th inning, 5 innings, and 1 earned against the Washington Nationals. And then his final start against the Cubs, his first bad start, but he still went long. He still went through 5 innings, 5.1 innings. He just let up 3 home runs. That was the big bugaboo in that last start. So I wouldn't even call that a bad start. I would say Nolan McLean went 8 for 8 with the eye test. And I hate using the eye test, but it's true. So, how does this rotation look? As long as everybody's healthy going into the year right now, I would say, you got Freddie Peralta as your opening day starter as your number 1. Nolan McLean as your number 2. Like I said, David Peterson, who we just went over, all 30 starts he made last year. He only had 6 bad starts. 6 bad starts, 24 for 30. That's a pretty good batting average. He pitched great. He was, for 85% of the year, he was our best pitcher. So David Peterson, I will put at my number 3 for the Mets. That's where I think he'll land in this rotation. Number 4, I'm going to go Clay Holmes. 3.53 ERA last year in his first full year as a starter. He got better at the tail end of last year. Started off hot, fatigued a little bit mid-year, but then finished strong. And I liked seeing that out of Clay Holmes. It was very appealing to see. Sean Manaea, number 5, either him or Kodai Senga. Now, Kodai Senga is that wild card. Senga's the wild card in this whole entire rotation because if Senga is the healthy Kodai Senga, Kodai Senga is the Kodai Senga from 2023. Kodai Senga is the Kodai Senga from the first half of 2025. This Mets rotation is completely different because then, just like that, we're talking about Nolan McLean, Freddie Peralta, and Kodai Senga as top of the rotation arms for this team, followed by Clay Holmes, David Peterson, and Sean Manaea, who are very good to have on the back end of the rotation. So Kodai Senga is that wild card in this rotation. That's why I'm saying this Mets rotation is underrated. It is very underrated. I know we're all excited about the addition of Louis Robert Jr., of Bo Bichette, of Jorge Polanco, this new offensive look for the Mets, where it's more about athleticism than just raw power. But damn, look at this freaking rotation. And I still believe they got something in it with just the guys returning. Not to mention, the addition of Freddie Peralta. That's a huge addition. But with the guys returning, with year 2 of Nolan McLean, with year 2 of Clay Holmes as a starter, with David Peterson, who got his first full year as a legit full-time starter, because he never pitched more than he pitched last year. So it wasn't a shock to see him kind of fall off a little bit at the end last year. So that's why I'm saying with Peterson, with Peterson, Senga, those are 2 wild cards that could be mid to top of the rotation arms. If one of those guys, just one of those guys, pitches like they did in the first half all year, I mean, goddamn, this is a very good rotation. It is a very good rotation. Now let's get into some other news about the Mets. Francisco Lindor, it's looking like he is on track to come in and play on opening day. But even if he doesn't, I think it's a no biggie situation. Worst case, I think he misses a week or two. And if he misses a week or two, then you have a guy like maybe Ronnie Mauricio play short, even though I don't think the Mets want to do that. I think the Mets want to option him to AAA to start the year, get him a lot of full-time reps. You could also move, well, they're not moving Bo Bichette, but you could move Jorge Polanco there. You could have Marcus Semien play there. I'm not big on that either. But there's one guy out there who's still a free agent who I think could be a good option to sign to at least be a bat off the bench, a locker room leader, a guy who Mets fans are very familiar with. I think the Mets should look at Jose Iglesias. I really do. I know last year with the Padres, he wasn't what he was when he was with the Mets in 2024. But he's still a very good defender. He can still play third, short, and second base. He can play all around the diamond. He can pinch run in certain situations. And also, the leadership that he provided in 2024 was just I can't even put it into words how much it really impacted the Mets in 2024. They really rallied around him. So I think the Mets, if Lindor is going to miss a week or two to start the year, I think they should actually look into bringing back Jose Iglesias. He's just sitting there. Sign him to a minor league deal like they did in 2024. If he sucks, cut him. Why not? If he sucks, you cut him. Worst case, that's it. Minor league deal, bye. That's it. Best case, he fills in for Lindor when he needs his breaks at short, fills in for Marcus Semien at second, can fill in for Bo Bichette at third. He can come in late in defensively for Bo Bichette at third base. He can come off the bench and pinch run. I'm not saying he's going to be the guy he was in 2024 for the Mets, but I still think he can be valuable to an MLB team, specifically the New York Mets, with, what they have this year. And now I want to talk about what they added. They added MJ Melendez, but they also added a guy by the name of Mike Tauchman. Mike Tauchman, I think, is a great fit for this team. We all know that, right? So there's 2 spots guaranteed in the outfield right now. Juan Soto, obviously, in left, Louis Robert Jr. in center field. Now, here's the thing. They needed a right fielder. We all think it's going to be Carson Bench, but you need a fallback plan in case Carson Bench isn't ready. And you also need a almost 4th or 5th outfielder. Tyrone Taylor is a good 4th outfielder, but his bat isn't fantastic. Mike Tauchman, I'm not saying his bat is fantastic, but it's better than Tyrone Taylor. Last year with the White Sox, 93 games, had a 756 OPS. 756 OPS, got on base 35% of the time. Slugged 400, but the on base was what I was really, really happy to see. A guy who gets on base 35% of the time. That's pretty good to have as your 4th or 5th outfielder. He drove in 40 runs in the 93 games he played. So he did drive in a ton of runs, hit over 300 with runners in scoring position. I think he's going to be a good bat to have off the bench. I think it's more likely that Mike Tauchman makes this roster over MJ Melendez. I think MJ Melendez should start the year, in the minors. And if we need him at some point, if a guy like Louis Robert Jr. gets injured, God forbid Soto gets hurt, God forbid Carson Bench struggles, and you need to give him a call down, get him going again in AAA, you can call up a guy like MJ Melendez. I think that's a good deal. A young guy, former top prospect in MLB. It's a good option to have. But yeah, I love the addition of Mike Tauchman. I really do love the addition of Mike Tauchman. Now let's talk about Louis Robert Jr. for a little bit. So Louis Robert Jr. News came out. Carlos Mendoza basically said, they're going to take things slow with him in spring training. He should be ready for opening day, no doubt about it. But they're going to take things slow with him because his legs, there's something going on with his legs. And that's one of the main reasons he's been out over the past 2 years. And if the reason Louis Robert Jr. struggled over the past 2 years was not only because the White Sox sucked, but also because he had something going on with his legs, it shows me how, good this organization has been ran since David Stearns has taken over, not just with the players that he brings in or lets out, but overall, just like the development of this team the past few years with under David Stearns. We saw Mark Vientos have a breakout year in 2024. We saw Brett Baty kind of finally look like you're a major leaguer last year. We saw Nolan McLean develop. We saw Jonah Tong develop. We saw Brandon Sproat even pitch some pretty good games last year at the big league level. Now he's gone, but still. We see the pitching development, not just from the young guys, but from veterans. We saw what this pitching lab was able to do with Luis Severino, what it was able to do with Sean Manaea in 2024. We saw what they were able to do with David Peterson. David Peterson was not 2 years ago. If you told me David Peterson would have a locked in spot in this Mets rotation in 2025 and in 2026, I'd say you're out of your mind. But here we are, and he's got a locked in, penciled spot in this rotation. So it just goes to show me how good this organization has been run. But back on Louis Robert Jr. He has the potential to turn this lineup into a very, very dangerous lineup. Just like Kodai Senga and, Sean Manaea can make the Mets rotation from okay to, oh, crap, this is an elite rotation. Louis Robert Jr. has that same ability on the offensive side. Because what he did in 2023, 38 homers, stole 20 bases, over an 850 OPS. If he can be that guy, or even half of that, it changes the whole complexion of this lineup. It really does. I've said it before, at bare minimum, Louis Robert Jr. is, even if we did what he did with the White Sox the past 2 years offensively, if he's healthy and he hits in the low 200s, only has a 700 OPS, 680 OPS, I really don't care. Because if you're telling me the guy's going to hit 15 plus homers and play Gold Glove caliber defense out there in center field, I'll take that. Because the Mets really got nothing, offensively at least, from center field in 2024 and in 2024. Harrison Bader was here, but he sucked. Tyrone Taylor, he was good defensively, but offensively, he was nothing special. So and Cedric Mullins, even after they got Cedric Mullins, they still put Jeff McNeil out there because some type of off production. And then Tyrone Taylor came back, and we were acting like Tyrone Taylor was the second coming of A-Rod because we just wanted good defense out there and some type of stability. And as great as a defender that Tyrone Taylor is, Louis Robert Jr. is better, a lot better. And that's saying something considering how good Tyrone Taylor is out there. But Louis Robert Jr. offensively has the ability to make this lineup so damn good. Because when you factor in Bobish, when you factor in Polanco with 800 on both sides of the plate, Juan Soto, those are four guys you can bank on, right? Polanco, and Lindor going to have good to great offensive teams. I would say Will, great Chet, and then good to great Polanco. But Louis, his ceiling is legitimately elite, but his floor is so damn low offensively. He is a wild card right now in that lineup. Another wild lineup is Francisco He came up from the minors when he got sent down for a brief stint. He came back. Let's take a look at his numbers. 50 games of 2025. He's a pretty damn good year. But I mean, if Francisco Alvarez is only 23 years old, I think a lot. Yes, and Alvarez 50 games 2025, 260, had an on base percentage of 345, slugged 525 for a total of 20 with 24 RBI in those games. 18 walks, 45 on base, a very high 45 percentage for especially for Alvarez. Good. So I'm very see you because as the player, believe this line good, just like that. Just one of those. Now the Mark, I'm still I really give up on Mark one bit. I met up with him after hopefully I don't bug out again. But yeah, what I was talking about is Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos is a guy who I do think still has the potential to be a 30 home run guy. And I know it's crazy to say after what he did last year and how terrible he played last year, but I just cannot give up on what he did in that 2024 postseason. I cannot give up on what he did in 2024 overall. 27 home runs and 111 in the season, had 998 OPS, had 6 home runs, drove in 14 runs. I cannot give up Vientos just yet. Now, did I give up defensively? 100% gave up on defensively. No doubt about it. He's a terrible defender. He can up there defensively. But offensively, if he can be half of what he was in 24, then I got to believe that he can be a full-time DH for the Mets. Or minimum. I don't get third base anymore. Bichette will be everyday third baseman, obviously. And if he is going to be Brett Beatty, because he was a terrific defender over there. But yeah, man. I mean, it's they're a very different team going into the year. A very team than what they were last year. A bunch of new faces, a bunch of cards on this team, but they're younger, they're more athletic, and they're going to be more fun. It is better. I think David Peterson, I think he is going to be better here, and he's damn good year last. I went over it before. We can went back, and you get into the number. 24 out of his 30. Nolan McLean, another year of Nolan McLean. I'm going to be see that. Freddie Peralta, obviously, top. Pretty exciting. I think they have a very underrated version. I think the Auto and Francisco Lindor, 2 elite level MVP caliber players. All right, we're going to take a break here. Then we're going to get into the Yankees, and then we're going to wrap things up. Yankees, a lot of players now talking about how they want to win a World Series. They want to win a World Series. That's what you play for the Yankees for. You play with the Yankees World Series, but they haven't won one since 2009. Can they win one this year after running it back with the same team? I think they can. I mean, I think they're still the favorites. We're going to get into that next on the James Nolan podcast. Stay with.
One guy who's been a lot more consistent than he was last year, who I want to get into on the offensive end, Anthony Volpe. I mean, he's living up to the hype that he had last year. Obviously, he performed well on the defensive side, capturing that Gold Glove award, hitting over 20 home runs. But this season, a little bit less home runs, but the batting average has seen an increase. The on-base percentage has seen an increase. And then obviously his speed on the base paths always kills opposing teams. So what do you think Anthony Volpe is doing differently this year than last that he's seen so much more success from?
Yeah, well, first in the field, he's always been great defender. So I don't think there was much to improve there. But on the offensive side, I think he's really just trying to hit the ball the other way more, be more consistent, make more solid contact. And he's been able to do it. I love when you try to make adjustments, you realize what was working, what wasn't working, and you make an adjustment in the offseason, and you come back and it works. That's something you love to see. So he's been definitely, obviously, with the higher average and getting on base more. But when you look at the actual mechanics of the swing, he's leveling out a little bit more. The bat path is more through the zone. He's not trying to pull the ball as much and lift it, it seems like, but he's able to really go with the pitch the other way. And that's what you need. Out of this offense, the way it's structured, if you have a guy like that at the top of the lineup getting on base, you have Juan Soto to follow, Aaron Judge to follow. Those guys are the ones who are going to really drive the ball even more in the air. But you have a guy like Volpe who could at least get on base with a single or just tap one to the opposite field, kind of like Jeter in a way where he had that inside-out swing. It helps out so much. So just understanding the lineup, how it's constructed, and then seeing how he's been able to make adjustments to then fit that lineup even better. That's why I think the Yankees have been pretty solid on the offensive side, at least with the first half of the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Judge, he has insane numbers, and we're going to get into him in a little bit. His last 50 games, he has 55 RBIs, and I think, like you alluded to.
All right, let's get back into it. I mean, if you want to listen to the Mets, my little Mets rant, you can scroll back, rewind, got into the Mets rotation, why too underrated to start this year. And also the offense on why I think Francisco Alvarez and Louis Robert Jr. have the ability to reshape this Mets lineup and turn them from pretty good outlook to an outlook. All right, now let's get into the Yankees. The Yankees are running it back, and I think that's about on the last 94 win team last year. 4-win team last year with the Yankees. I think in way too much. Yeah, pretty damn good. Fried, who was an ace last year, was in the American. All right. Well, I have no clue what is going on right now with the with my computer, with my laptop. Well, for some reason it's not connecting, so I guess we'll go on the phone for a little bit. Gonna go on the phone for a little bit. But what I want to talk about is the Yankees. I want to see if they can actually win it all this year. I want to talk about that actually. Um, but everybody was getting on them for running it back. Everyone was getting on the Yankees for running it back with the 2025 team, right? I think outside of Bo Bichette, I've said this before, outside of Bo Bichette, I really don't think there was any bona fide guy. Oh, here we go. I think I got my I think I'm back. Let's see. Nope. Oh, here we go. Back. All right, well, we got it back. I think we got it back. But yeah, the Yankees, I think they made the right decision in running it back. I mean, this is a team that won 94 games. 94 games with this basically the same roster. You're going to have Ben Rice back, who I think a lot of people expect to be better. Ben Rice was a dangerous, dangerous player. He has the ability to be one of the most dangerous bats in the American League this year. You know, you look at Aaron Judge, obviously, and he, no doubt about it, I really like Max down. You know, and Will Warren. I think they have a very good rotation. At some point, Garrett Cole will rejoin this rotation. You know, I like their lineup. I like Cody Bellinger. He's a great fit in Yankee Stadium with that short porch in right field. I think he's a good complement to Aaron Judge. I don't think there was any surprise to see Cody Bellinger find so much success, especially after the slow start he had in April and a little bit into May. Cody Bellinger turned into one of the best hitters in baseball last year after May. Giancarlo Stanton, right when he got back from his injury, and he looks a lot more leaner, looks a lot more healthier. You know, he said he kind of changed his offseason routine, and, you know, he's talking about this team winning a championship, and that's what everybody wants to do. Cody Bellinger himself, too, he said he wants to win a ring in the Yankee uniform. That's why he came back to the Yankees, not just because of the money in the 5-year deal, but a lot of these guys feel that it's championship or bust. And with what the Blue Jays lost, you know, look at what the Blue Jays lost. They lost Bo Bichette. That's a big loss for the Blue Jays. He was a great player last year. He was the second best player in, obviously, not the second best hitter in baseball, second best hitter in the American League. But, you know, the only person who had a better batting average than Bo Bichette last year in the American League was Aaron Judge. They just lost that piece. The Red Sox, they lost their best offensive player in Alex Bregman last year. Who knows? Roman Anthony might turn out to be better than Alex Bregman at this point in their careers. So, but still, losing Alex Bregman, that's a huge loss for the Red Sox. A huge loss for the Red Sox. So that's why I'm saying this Yankees team, the only team that is the same in the AL East. I think they're the favorites in the AL East. I think they're the favorites in the American League. They just have to get by one team, and that one team is the LA Dodgers. That's the one team. But you're telling me Ben Rice isn't going to get better? I mean, we talked about Ben Rice's Savant page the other day. All red. All red. Go look up Ben Rice, Baseball Savant. All red. He's got bad speed. His average exit velocity was in the 98th percentile last year. Barrel percentage in the 98th percentile. He is a bona fide slugger. I think he is going to become one of the most dangerous hitters in the American League this year. So you have Ben Rice, Stanton, Bellinger, and obviously Aaron Judge. And not to mention Jazz Chisholm Jr., too, probably the best, second best second baseman in baseball, best second baseman in the American League by far. The only better second baseman in baseball. Legit bat. That, like I said, I love their rotation. So with the Yankees talking about the Yankee players themselves talking about World Series bust, yeah, it's World Series again. With the Blue Jays loss and with the Red Sox loss, you know, I think the Orioles are probably going to be the second best in the AL East this year. But we can't forget out of nowhere. And some teams have weird years where into in the league. The Tigers were one of the best of the AL long. Only team all year where they were consistent whole year, except in the middle. Man, I mean, once the second half round, you gotta imagine there's going to be some acquisitions. Last year, the fantastic deadline, Camilo Doval, David Bednar, multiple years of control. This year, add more to the bullpen at the deadline. They've even more. Who knows? I think the Yankees are the best team. I think that they get if those four guys are healthy in the playoffs, those are four great pitchers. And then whoever they add at the deadline to help out in the bullpen, who knows? Maybe they bring in a lockdown closer. Who knows? All right, but with my connection issues starting to piss me off, and we really get into it with the Mets. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it a night. But yeah, you want to listen to more Mets, you can rewind. We're gonna talk about the Yankees to start the next pod, so we can give them their fair share. But yes, I do think the Yankees can win it all because they're gonna be the favorites with the rotation that they could have if they're all healthy. Cam Sutler, Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon. They're gonna be the favorites against any team they face in the postseason. But that's all for me. Kind of pissed off, kind of a little upset that my connection has been crapping out. Sorry for that. Thank you, whether you're watching on X or YouTube. Really appreciate you guys. Deuces.